Hey guys, Dino at Speed Circuit here, and today I want to tell you a tale of the 2024 SCCA Majors at New Jersey Motorsports Park. So let's go. So a little backstory. Last year I decided to get out of my Formula 500 car and upgrade to a Formula 600 car. Now they technically run in the same class. However, the Formula 600 cars, at least the ones I'm interested in, run a 600cc motorcycle engine out of a Gixxer, a Suzuki GSXR. They're quite a bit faster. They have shifting instead of a CVT, and they're just a little bit more speed. Unfortunately, because of the power advantage and speed advantage, the cars have to weigh an extra 100 pounds in order to qualify for the class, but that's okay because all the tech that you need in order to make the car function properly is going to add that weight naturally anyway, so you generally would add up to about 900 pounds regardless. So I decided to order a car in November of last year, and it was supposed to take about a month to complete because it was just a car that's been around for a while that was getting a rebuild. However, for reasons beyond my control, the car still isn't finished yet. At the same time, I was getting my best friend, Rico Jefferson, hashtag Chocolate Car Man, involved in racing. That way I had someone to race with and travel with and just kind of share the experiences with. We picked up a car for him in February that was a sister car for the car that I was getting rebuilt. So Rico still had his novice permit at this point, which means that he didn't qualify for a majors race because it's kind of a national tour and they only let people with a full-fledged license participate in these types of races. So because of that fact, he let me borrow his car for the weekend, which I've never driven, and I've never driven any Formula 600, so I had a lot to learn. So without ever having driven a Formula 600 before, I went out for qualifying on Saturday morning, and I turned the best time I've ever turned on that track in any car, because this Formula 600 is so much better than my old Formula 500 that I was immediately faster with no experience. Unfortunately, pushing it through that qualifying session destroyed the chain in the car, which was already on the fritz due to Rico's last race that he was unable to complete because we had issues with the cogs, and unbeknownst to us, the cogs actually damaged the chain, but we weren't aware of that at the time. So after I qualified, we hustled to try to find a replacement chain. No one in the pits had one, and we ended up going all over town and eventually found a motorcycle shop that had the chain. But unfortunately, by the time I fixed it, it was last call to grid for my group, and I didn't have time to put my gear on or anything like that. So basically, we finished it just in time to watch my race that I should have been in that I wasn't in on Saturday's race. So the race you're about to watch is from Sunday, and that's the premier race, that's the longer race, and that's a more prestigious race. I ended up qualifying 5th out of 12 or so, and we went out for our pace lap, and I'll let you watch the rest.
Motorsports Park's Thunderbolt Circuit for the last race of the Fayetteville Memorial Jersey Devil Majors, the 2024 event here given by the South Jersey region of the SCCA. I'm Greg Ginsberg. I'm almost punch drunk here, Brian.
Yeah. Don't
know what to say anymore, but it's me, Greg Ginsberg, him, Brian Donati, got Matt Wakowiak, who last race of the day, the beautiful Sioka Corvette out on track, pacing this Formula 6, Formula F, and Formula V field. We had 12 drivers set qualifying times. Let's run down the starting order. Starting 12th, driving the number 8, Formula V Citation from Harvard of Grace, Maryland, Brendan Cronin. Jeffrey Vallejo is starting 11th. Dino Ludico from Speed Source, from Speed Circuit, he is starting 5th. In the number 24, Formula 600. Joe Parsons starting 4th. He's in the number 42.
So here we're coming up on the straightaway. The pace car went in, and I'm watching like a hawk to see when that green flag is going to wave. And there it is. I got a hell of a start. I immediately jumped up to second place. I'm only behind Beckley, who's a national level driver, and just trying like hell to keep up with him. But I'm also nervous because I'm like, how am I in second place? This is amazing. I've only driven this car for about a half hour combined in my life, and I'm already ahead of all these people.
Turn 7 and going into the Octopus, and it is Jay Beckley with the early lead over Robert Gray, Steve Oseth. Actually, we'll have to see it. That's not Robert Gray in second. Dino Lodico, who's in the red number 24 machine, again came up, had an issue with the master chain. He runs Speed Circuit, one of the South Jersey region's sponsors, and also, should I add, an authorized reseller of the Sentinel video systems. And he is currently running second, about 10 car lengths back from Jay Beckley. Then Robert Gray, who's in the white number 15 Nova car. He's running third. Steve Rue leading in Formula F. And from the looks of it, Brian, Steve Rue, the only Formula F driver to take the grid, as Steve Oseth, Joe Parsons did not come out today. In Formula V, we've got Alex Scaler, who's your leader, Chase Johnson, David Scaler, Brendan Cronin, four-car field, Jonathan Weisheit, and Jeffrey Vallejo. And Vallejo might have had some damage after yesterday. Those two drivers did not come out for today's feature race. So it is a 22-lap or 45-minute race, whichever comes first.
You know, on the start there, Alex Scaler kind of moved to the driver's right once the green flag came out. Chase Johnson was in the left lane, kind of the far driver's left lane. If you're when you look at our camera for the start finish, he moved directly right in behind Alex Scaler in order to keep up with him on that start, to utilize that as the draft to try to pull away from the rest of David and Brendan Cronin.
Well, you know, and this is Alex Scaler's home track, and so it would behoove Chase Johnson to.
We'll have to see, but looks like David Scaler, he still has his rain light on. I may have automatically just come on just due to from yesterday.
Well, we heard about the one Formula car earlier today, where the rain light was hanging on by a thread. Didn't know what to do in the dry, apparently. You know, maybe it's the same thing. You know, wants to be seen and wants to be known out here today.
Wants to let everybody know where no, I think it may have been a brake light. I say it because it looks like if it is his brake light, he was on the straightaway and had his brake light on. So I hope that's not the case. But
well, most of these cars don't have brake lights.
No, I tell you what, good battle here, not for class, but you see there goes Alex Scaler now and the rest of our Formula Vs, but just a little bit ahead of that. You've got a great, they're in turn 1 now, but a great battle there with Robert Gray and Steve Rue. Again, one's a Formula 600, one's the Formula F, but a pretty decent battle. Stephen Rue not going away from Robert Gray. Robert not able to pull. There you go. You see him coming out of turn 3. Thanks, Matt. And then you got him coming up out of turn 4 here, coming down. You can see how close they are. Stephen Rue doing everything he can to get by Robert Gray, but Robert Gray has that straight line speed than the Formula F machine. Starting to head up into turn 6 again. You can see it. It's about a car length and a half. I give it 3-4 car lengths now as you see it when they come out of turn 7 there.
So it's hard to tell in the video, but by lap 5, there's a little bit of trouble in paradise. When I go around some of the tighter turns, I kind of felt like the car was cutting out a little bit. It felt like classic fuel starvation, but I didn't think that was really possible since I was completely full of fuel when I went out, and I'm only 5 laps in, so unless I was leaking fuel or something, I didn't really think that was realistic. And this was a solid car that was raced for years, and no one's ever reported this issue before. So I kind of started thinking, oh, well, maybe it's just something minor. No big deal.
Here they come out of the 12, headed down the start-finish line. Chase Johnson moving over to driver's right to help break that draft of David Scaler, not allowing him to try to get that run as they go down to turn 1. And it is David Scaler has his rain light on because it is blinking. So, again, I think once you set that up, you know, again, it's easy to forget to turn that off.
Well, I hear in a Formula V, the rain light is worth about 2 miles per hour. I mean,
I'm leaving that thing on.
That's right.
I'm leaving it on every single time I go out in a race car.
Yeah, and so Chase Johnson, I think we talked a little bit about him yesterday, 16 years old. So, I mean, good opportunity for him to learn. We've got 2 high schoolers in the field. We've got Chase Johnson. We've also got Brendan Cronin as well here. And Chase finished 3rd in the New England Region's Formula V Championship last year. So a good run for him. And we talked about this yesterday. Moving up from quarter midgets and going road racing in something, I mean, probably I would consider that, as you move from circle track to road racing.
So as time went on and the laps added up, I started experiencing the sputtering issue around the tighter corners more and more frequently, and I was really starting to get worried, but there wasn't really anything I could do about it. Despite that, I was still continuing to get faster and improve on my lap times, despite the car not making power around the turns. So by sputtering and fuel cut, basically what I mean is that when I'm going around the turns and I'm on the gas, the engine isn't revving. It's just kind of sitting there sputtering and not accelerating at all. And it's really kind of hurting me when I'm trying to get away.
Follows him. It's kind of like that, that racing train that you see, and you've got Brendan Cronin picking them up to understand, to say, hey, they're doing it, I need to do it as well.
Well, and so here's I think one of the key factors is when we talked to Brendan a couple of weeks ago at Summit Point Raceway for his very first ever race. He was the only Formula V in the field, and so he really did not have anybody to key off of to see what they did, to even to talk about what he was seeing or feeling or experiencing on track. Here with a few fewer drivers on course today, but what was a 6-car field or 7-car field yesterday, 2 drivers not here today, but to have an Alex Scaler, to have a Jonathan Weisheit here to find out more about Formula V racing, I think is really a good thing for him, and as good a way to learn as what he's going to see, feel, and experience on track. Yeah.
In this race, that is, you've got 8 laps left. That probably feels like 50 laps, because they are a handful on those smaller tires that they need, that they're running out here. So again, it is going to be a handful, and it could be that Dino may, pushed his stuff out early, and Robert Gray said, you know what, I'll let you guys go out and get out there, and then I will run you down at the end. We've seen that quite a bit through all of our different classes here this weekend, especially today.
So that was the commentators mentioning how Robert Gray is catching up to me, and they assumed it's because I overcooked my tires or I didn't manage them properly. But the reality is the car is sputtering out, and there's just nothing I could do about it. I'm trying to accelerate, and the car's just not going.
I think that's going to be the 9, not 6-9.
Right.
That may be the
9 of David Scaler.
So any moment now, you're going to hear the car sputtering and breaking up really bad in the straightaway, which it hadn't done before. It only did it in the turns, and that's when I know I'm toast.
All right. So, and in response to Robert Gray's resetting fast lap, Brian, a lap later, Dino Lupico doesn't set fast lap, but he sets a personal best, and that personal best, more importantly, was about a 1/10 of a second faster than Robert Gray had run on that last lap. So now the gap is starting to stabilize at about 7/10 of a second.
Yeah. With that spin.
So yeah, he passed me there, and I shook my fist at him in anger because it's really all I can do at that point. I was just really frustrated with the situation. I earned every bit of that second place. I was in second the whole race. And now I'm at the point where the car barely wants to move. And my hopes and dreams of a podium in a majors this year has been crushed. And that's really hard for me to accept, considering I was having the drive of my life. To add insult to injury, it's been years since I've successfully finished a race in a Formula car, just because I've just had bad luck with things breaking and things going wrong. And even when I borrowed someone else's car, something beyond my control went wrong. So finally, at this point, the car just won't move. I have the pedal to the floor, and it's just dying. So I tried to choose a good spot to pull over and stay out of the way, and I had to retire from the race, unfortunately.
All right, so let's take a look at this fight now coming into turn 7 with Lodico and Robert Gray. Oh, and we're getting word now, Brian, that Dino, that battle that I was just going to go and talk about, not so good any longer. There is Dino Lodico right on the side of the track over at turn 4. This is, I think, the best shot that we've had all day long. I don't know what kind of chassis it is. He has it just listed as an F600. And it looks like he might be getting, unbelting himself to get out of the car. He's awfully close to the side of the track there.
Going to get him out of the car. Got to get him moving quickly as cars are continuing to come by. He looks a little disgusted there. You can see it clearly on your camera. But I believe that chain may have may have given up again.
Yeah. Again, he had some issues in quality, and I suspect that we're going to get this cleaned up and clear it up. We have the field now responding, or the services vehicles responding to get the 24 car out. Yeah, maybe we put Lodico in the passenger or in the driver's seat and
just lift him up
and haul him around. It's like it's like going to the county fair.
I think Dino probably has either left the scene.
Well, I'm sure he's behind the Armco over there.
Here he comes. He's coming back into our camera shot now. But yes, I have a feeling that's the exact same thing he had a problem with yesterday in that chain, because when it went away quickly.
So the commentators misdiagnosed the problem. They assumed that because I had a chain issue the day prior, that this was also a chain issue, and they also failed to realize that it wasn't an immediate issue that the car just gave out. It was an issue that had been plaguing me for, 6 laps at that point, 5 laps, something like that. It was just getting progressively worse, and that was the reason that Robert Gray was able to pass me, and ultimately the car just completely sputtered out. The crazy thing is that as soon as we got the car back to the pits and I went to try to diagnose it, it fired right up and ran fine. And here we are in September, a couple months later at this point, and through whatever testing I could throw at it, it would pass with flying colors. So I have not been able to replicate the issue, which is just kind of par for the course. But it's just going to have to be sorted out on the track, unfortunately. If you do look at the screen when I'm having the issue, if you look at the bottom right corner of the screen, you'll see my fuel pressure, which is generally 50 psi. But when the engine starts cutting out, it goes down to the low teens or as low as 10. And I checked the data log as well, and anytime I was slowing down and the car was sputtering, the fuel pressure dropped. So I tested the fuel pumps, I tested the whole fuel system. People think that maybe it was vapor lock or something along those lines, and that's the leading theory right now after talking to other guys in the class with experience with this. But I was not able to reproduce it driving the car around the block or anything along those lines. Rico got in it. He couldn't reproduce it. So hopefully this issue doesn't rear its ugly head in the future. Maybe it was just some fluke. But unfortunately, either way you slice it, it cost me second place in that race. And since I didn't complete the race, or didn't complete half the race, I was half a lap shy of completing half of the race. I didn't get any credit for that race. So it was just kind of adding insult to injury. But that's the way it goes sometimes. Dino out.